Matt Muehlbach has told me something that was, he's told me this throughout the year. When I would call to complain about something, he would say, listen, man, he said, Tommy is a very introspective person. Tommy Lloyd gets things. You talked about it last year after last year's loss to Princeton. You said, needed to get a little bit tougher, needed to get more guys that could make some plays off the bounce. And I think we are seeing it again this year. He's taken inventory of his team. I think he knew that there were probably too many guys on the team that really couldn't contribute a ton. And it looked like he was looking to reshape the backcourt a little bit. Matt Muehlbach, you were ahead of the curve as usual.
Well, yeah, I think, we got to all remember that, Tommy Lloyd's in his third season, now going into his fourth season at Arizona. And, it was interesting, Mike. I was obviously watching the Final Four and the finals, and I looked something up because I was curious about this with Dan Hurley. I was like, God, how has Dan Hurley gotten so good, so soon? And I looked it up. I had no idea that, I think he coached at, I know he coached at Rhode Island before. That was Wagner before Rhode Island. And he coached 6 years before he even made the NCAA tournament.
Right.
6 years. Right. Now, granted, not the same, if you're going to compare it, not the same platform as an Arizona platform, but, 6 years, no tournaments. His 7th and 8th year, he made the tournament, actually won a game in each year, but, did not reach the Sweet 16 or the second day or the second weekend. And then he went to UConn after that. And it was kind of interesting. His first 2 years, and arguably a bigger and better platform than Arizona. Right.
Yeah.
The last 30 years by far. I mean, better than anybody, really.
National titles the last 25 years. That's good.
Right. Yeah, nobody's done that even close. But, first 2 years, he didn't even make the tournament at UConn. And then his next 2 years, 3 and 4 at UConn, which were, 11 and 12 years into his coaching career, made the tournament, lost in the first round both years.
Right.
And then, of course, in his 13th and 14th year, popped a natty for both years. So, I mean, this stuff is hard. And, these coaches have to figure stuff out. They got to figure out, how does their system work in the regular season? How does it work in the postseason? The postseason's different.
Right.
I've always said it's a rock fight. And, it's a combination of a rock fight, but also once you get going in the Sweet 16 and the Final Four, you gotta have dudes. And you gotta have guys that can get buckets when the shot isn't falling. That's true. And Arizona struggled with that in that Clemson game.
Not everybody struggled with that, Matt Muehlbach.
That's right. But, Jaden Bradley, or ding, 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 ding. Are we already doing a Jaden Bradley reference now?
My guy. I'm telling you, I don't understand. I've been saying this. I'm going to keep saying this, Matt Muehlbach. I do not understand why he can't be Jamal Shed from Houston. Again, not a great shooter. Probably not quite the passer that Shed is, but defensively, he is uber elite. You and I were messaging during the game that and he gets called for fouls that aren't even fouls because I think people just get tired of him stealing the ball. And that you saw that in the Clemson game. Defensively, he is amazing. He can get to the hoop. He's the first point guard we've had here in a long time that can actually get to the hoop. Matt Muehlbach, I am all in, and I am going to convert Matt Muehlbach one day at a time.
Yeah, you've been on this before most people. I give you credit for that. And, two things about him really stood out to me. One, the fact that, I've said this actually from the beginning, not that this was, I didn't know the results would come like this, but New York point guards, man, New York guards, they're different.
Right.
I've played against a bunch of them. I played with Khalid Reeves. I played against Kenny Anderson, and they're just different dudes, and they're elite, in the way they play. They have to, you better bring it when you're in New York playing that position. And, you can see a lot of that in him, the sort of toughness and the creativity. And I like the fact that he gets to the line. He was his free throw, even though he played 7 minutes a game less than Kylan Boswell, he shot double the free throws.
Right.
And I think that's a really good thing for a guy like him. Now, Boswell shot a lot more threes, and I think as a point guard, you need to be able to make some threes. So the second thing I was going to, or the third thing, I guess now, he took a shot in that Clemson game. That every shot I think he took, what did he take? 28 threes this year.
Right.
I think 27 of them were basically catch and shoot threes.
Mm-hmm.
But he took one off the dribble or off the catch and shoot that was a pull up. that I had not seen all season. It was nothing but the bottom. That was a shot to me that I was like, I didn't know he had that in his bag. And it was impressive, very impressive. And so I'm looking forward to his year next year. I think he could be awesome.
And I think that going into the Big 12, he's exactly what you need, because the Big 12 is going to be a lot different than it was in the Pac-12 this year. Also, I've always believed this, that when you get into the NCAA tournament, a lot of times your shots aren't going to fall. It's like you said, you tense up a little bit. It's a different style of basketball. Here I am lecturing somebody that was on a Final Four team about this, but you know, I will play grown up right now.
You're bigger than me. You're bigger.
I'm bigger than you, Matt Muehlbach. Yeah. By the way, somebody in the comments said, dude, you wouldn't score a point on Matt Muehlbach. You were probably correct. That's why it was funny. But the you know, when games slow down, you've got to have guys that can just get buckets. And I'm going to be saying this all off season. I do not care if people get annoyed by this. I do not care, because that's just the way it is. When you've got point guards, and again, I think actually Kylan Boswell, I think this is a good separation for both sides, to be honest with you. I think that he's going to be the book has not been written on Kylan Boswell. I think sometimes people just need, for whatever reason, it just doesn't quite work. Need a little bit of a change of scenery. I think he's going to be very good. But when you've got somebody like a Jaden Bradley, a KJ Lewis, they can slow the game down. I know that people don't want to hear about slowing the game down, but in the NCAA tournament, the game slows down.